can happen in 8 seconds. A ride on a rodeo bull, the new Microsoft aides bragged about startup, a revolutionary, innovative scan for breast cancer, and the needless death of an innocent animal. The American Humane Association reports that each year, approximately 8 million strays and unwanted animals are taken in by shelters across the country. Out of this number, 4 million never make it to a loving home. This means that every 8 seconds, one animal is euthanized in the United States of America. The number one cause of all of this needless suffering is overpopulation. Through this speech, we will be examining mankind's irresponsibility and how it brought animals to this crisis point. By examining shelters versus other means of adoption, the process of buying and selling a pet, and what we must do with the animals we already own, we will learn what must truly be done as the creation with dominion over this earth. Now, many people believe that as long as they adopt a pet, they're doing something wonderful by giving it a forever home. While you may be doing something great for that animal, where you adopt from does in fact have a massive impact on the lives of countless other pets. The Humane Society International and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the ASPCA, warn that turning to pet stores or breeders and ads that are not affiliated to a qualified breeding organization oftentimes supports places known as mills that literally keep their dogs in small wire cages or generally cramped living conditions and use them for the sole purpose of getting as many offspring as they can during that animal's breeding life. Now, let's look to my family's dog named Tulip. She is a prime example of what the pet stores don't want you to see. Tulip is of a highly desirable breed of dog known as a Shih Tzu. Being such a sought-after breed, Shih Tzus are often victims of the breeding-for-profit sector of animal adoption. Tulip was picked up by the Humane Society with severe anemia, flea infestation, matted fur, and a ruptured eye. Sadly, this state of living is extremely common in pet mills, which is why Tulip is assumed to have come from one. But lucky for her, she found a home where her sick demeanor turned into a healthy, hyper-energetic personality, and she is thriving in her new habitat. The Humane Society and the ASPCA recommend that in order to make a difference in the pet meal industry, you must turn to local shelters or rescues. If less people go to expensive pet stores, breeding for profit will no longer be a profitable business. Some people are willing to pay up to $800 for a purebred puppy. They're willing to pay up the nose for this piece of paper, when in reality they could get the exact same dog for a fraction of the price. We only paid $100 for our dog named Taco, who is an adult, fully trained, purebred, male, neutered Chihuahua. And the exact same breed was going for even $1,000 at the local pet store, and those puppies were not trained and were not guaranteed to be healthy. They have a wellness certificate, but the Humane Society warns a wellness certificate simply means the animal had a checkup at some point in their life. So it doesn't even have to be recent. When more than 25% of the dogs at shelters are purebreds, and there are numerous breed-specific rescues for all species, there is never a reason to run to the expensive pet stores. But what if you or one of your loved ones is for sure planning on buying a pet? Is going to the shelters or rescues all you need to know? Use these tips recommended by most animal protection agencies. The Humane Society recommends that before you even walk into a shelter, you do some research. While they can tell you everything about the animal you're looking at, they can't tell you if it will suit your lifestyle. Only you can do that. They recommend that before you even consider adopting an animal, you first find out what types of breeds can deal with what types of people, how much space you have for an animal, how much time you can dedicate to one, and how much money you can devote to exercise, grooming, health, and dietary needs. If you do all of these things, or you tell your loved ones to ensure they take these steps, you'll be sure to welcome an animal into your home that you can handle and that you can give it a life full of the happiness that it deserves. But what if you or one of your loved ones is in the market of selling a litter? How should you go about doing that? While most people put out ads in the internet and newspaper and around town, perhaps there's a better way of finding a forever home for the offspring you're dealing with. The Humane Society says you must also be able to educate potential adopters to the animal's adult size, dietary exercise requirements and space requirements. And the ASPCA warns that you must never give the pet away to an absolute stranger. You could end up giving it to someone that simply wants an animal for a meal, food for a reptile, or they just can't handle the pet. The Humane Society says you should first turn to close friends and family members because you'll understand more about the living situation, and you should try and see the living conditions and meet with everyone at the potential adopter's home so you really understand the situation. Doing the right thing is hard work, but it is absolutely necessary if we are to look out for the happiness of these animals. Now, my cat Garfield's story starts off with an accidental litter of 11 that the owner hadn't been expecting. When many animals can have anywhere from 12 to 22 in a litter, there will be many homes to look for in most cases. Now, Garfield's owner did everything she could to find a home for the kittens, but in the end turned to the local shelter which rejected them because they were too full after the breeding season. Garfield's story addresses not only wisdom when handling a litter, but wisdom with the animals we already own. When we adopted Garfield from a local no-kill rescue that finally took the kittens in, we were told we had to take him to the veterinarian that helped that rescue out with medical issues once he was old enough so that he could be fixed. Now, we did fall through this requirement, but when we showed up, the veterinarian was shocked. We were literally, not mincing numbers or words, the first family to show up after having adopted from that rescue that had been in existence for over a decade. Maybe that's why there are an estimated 60 million cats living on the streets of the United States. People don't take true responsibility for the animals they own, and thus we end up with more pets than there are loving homes. Now, your job as a pet owner, or the job of your loved ones, is honestly one of the simplest, but also the most crucial. You probably already suspect what I'm going to say. Many people believe that it's cruel or unnecessary to fix their animals as they're not purposely breeding them, and a few accidental litters aren't that big of a deal. But the ASPCA dissected this fatal belief with a very possible example. Female cats have on average 5 to a litter, and they can have anywhere from 3 litters per year. Now, if those litters went on to have litters of their own, and so on and so forth, that would mean that within 7 years, there would be 91,511,383 cats, all originating back to that first unspayed female. People need to understand the implications it has to have one pet, have one litter, and then maybe you'll be lucky enough to find homes for those offspring. But many of the young animals will end up in a life in the cages of shelters, breeding mills, the streets of the United States, or they will be euthanized at a very young age because there just aren't enough homes for that many animals. We need to understand our responsibility as a pet owner, or even the friend of a pet owner. People need to know what it really means to have an animal in their home. It was mankind's irresponsibility that brought animals to this crisis point. But we can make a difference. A lot can happen in 8 seconds. But if we begin to educate ourselves and those around us, the death of an innocent animal no longer has to be on them.